Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if this is your very first time here, welcome. You have just found your new favorite corner of the internet where we travel the world together, one country at a time. So hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because you do not want to miss a single episode. Now, before I say anything else, I want you to close your eyes for just a moment and imagine this. Imagine stepping off a plane and being greeted by warm golden sunshine, a soft tropical breeze carrying the scent of salt and flowers, crystal clear turquoise water stretching out as far as the eye can see, white sand beaches so perfect they look like they were designed by an artist, coral reefs teeming with life just beneath the surface of the water, and everywhere you look, smiling, warm, genuinely joyful people, throwing their arms wide open and saying one word, one beautiful word that somehow manages to contain an entire philosophy of welcome and warmth inside it. Bula. That word, bula, is the most important word you will learn today, because it is the heart and the soul of the place we are exploring. Welcome, everyone, to Fiji, the beating heart of the South Pacific, one of the most beautiful, most welcoming, and most magical places on the entire surface of this planet. Today we are going deep. The geography, the islands, the cities, the people, the culture, the economy, the wildlife, the food, the sport, and so much more. This is the full story of Fiji, and I promise you, by the time we are done, you are either going to be booking a flight or crying because you cannot afford to book one right now. Either way, let us get into it. Let us start with the big picture. Where exactly is Fiji, and what kind of place are we actually talking about? Fiji is a sovereign island nation located in the South Pacific Ocean, sitting in the vast blue expanse of water that makes up the region known as Oceania. If you look at a map of the Pacific, you will find Fiji, northeast of Australia and directly north of New Zealand, positioned in a part of the world that is surrounded by ocean in every direction for thousands of kilometers. And when we say Fiji is an island nation, we do not just mean a couple of islands. We mean a full archipelago of approximately 330 islands, scattered across the Pacific like a handful of emeralds tossed onto a blue silk cloth. Of those 330 islands, only around 110 are actually inhabited, which means that roughly 2/3 of Fiji 8S islands are completely uninhabited, wild, untouched, pristine pieces of tropical paradise just sitting there in the ocean with their perfect beaches and their coral reefs and their tropical birds, completely untouched by human development. That fact alone should tell you something extraordinary about what kind of place this is. The total land area of Fiji is around 18,300 square kilometers, which makes it a relatively small country by land area, but the ocean territory that Fiji controls, its exclusive economic zone, covers an enormous area of the Pacific, making it a nation of truly oceanic scale and significance. The two largest and most important islands are Viti Levu and Vanua Levu. Viti Levu is the biggest, covering about 57% of Fiji's total land area. And this is where the capital city, the main airport, and the vast majority of the population are located. Vanua Levu is the second largest island, located to the north, and it is a place of dramatic landscapes, deep forests, and a more rugged, less touristy character than its bigger sibling. Together, these two main islands form the backbone of Fiji. But the magic of the country really begins to reveal itself when you start exploring the hundreds of smaller islands, the Mamanuca Islands, the Yasawa Islands, the Lomaviti Group, and beyond, each one offering its own unique character, its own beaches, its own reefs, its own little slice of paradise. The landscape of Fiji is stunningly beautiful and surprisingly varied. When most people think of Fiji, they think of beaches. And yes, the beaches are real and they are extraordinary. Stretches of white and golden sand lapped by water in colors that range from pale turquoise to deep sapphire depending on the depth and the time of day. But Fiji is not just beaches. The main islands are dominated by volcanic mountains that rise steeply from the coast into the interior, covered in dense tropical rainforest that teems with life, birds, insects, plants of extraordinary diversity and color, waterfalls that cascade down mossy cliffs into clear pools below. The highest point in Fiji is Mount Tamanavi, also known as Mount Victoria, which rises to 1,124 meters above sea level on Viti Levu. Not a Himalayan giant by any measure, but a dramatically beautiful peak that defines the interior of the island and catches the clouds that bring the rainfall that feeds the rivers and forests below. The coasts, meanwhile, are fringed with mangrove forests, coral reefs, and all the incredible marine biodiversity that comes with them. Fiji sits within the Coral Triangle, the global center of marine biodiversity, and the reefs around its islands are some of the most diverse and spectacular on Earth, home to hundreds of species of coral, thousands of species of fish, rays, sharks, turtles, dolphins, and a whole underwater universe of staggering beauty. The climate throughout Fiji is tropical, warm and humid year-round, with temperatures typically ranging between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius even in the coolest months. There are two main seasons: a dry season from May to October, which is generally considered the best time to visit, and a wet season running from November through April, during which Fiji can receive heavy rainfall and is also at risk from tropical cyclones. Cyclones are a real and serious part of life in the Pacific, and Fiji has experienced some powerful and damaging storms over the years, a reminder that even paradise has its challenges. Now, let us talk about the cities and major population centers of Fiji, because while most of the world thinks of Fiji as nothing but beaches and resorts, it does have genuine urban life and political and economic infrastructure. The capital city of Fiji is Suva, located on the southeastern coast of Viti Levu, and it is a genuinely interesting and dynamic place. Suva is the political, administrative, and cultural heart of the country. This is where the parliament sits, where the major government ministries operate, where the courts are, where the National Museum and National Archives are located, and where the University of the South Pacific, one of the most important regional universities in the entire Pacific, has its main campus. Suva is a busy, multicultural, somewhat chaotic city with a lively market, a colorful history, and a character that reflects the full diversity and complexity of Fijian society. It rains a lot in Suva. It is one of the wetter parts of Fiji, but that just keeps it green and lush and alive in a way that is quite beautiful once you adjust to the tropical rhythms. The second most important city in practical terms, and arguably the most important for most visitors, is Nadi, located on the western side of Viti Levu. Nadi is home to Nadi International Airport, which is Fiji's main gateway to the world and the point of entry for the overwhelming majority of tourists. Everything in Nadi revolves around tourism: hotels, tour operators, souvenir shops, restaurants, money changers, and a constant flow of international visitors moving through on their way to resorts and islands across the archipelago. Nadi itself is not the most beautiful place in Fiji. It is a functional, commercial, transit-oriented town, but it is lively, friendly, and has a genuine energy that comes from being at the crossroads of so much movement and activity. And then there is Lautoka, known as the Sugar City, located just north of Nadi on the western coast of Viti Levu. Lautoka is Fiji's second largest city and has traditionally been the center of the sugarcane industry, with one of the largest sugar mills in the southern hemisphere dominating the landscape near the waterfront. Today, Lautoka is diversifying its economy, with a growing port, expanding retail and service sectors, and an increasing role in the tourism supply chain. Each of these cities, Suva, Nadi, Lautoka, tells a different part of the Fiji story, and together they paint a picture of a country that is more complex and layered than the resort brochures might suggest. The population of Fiji is approximately 930,000 to 950,000 people, so just under a million, making it a small country by population, though a significant one in the context of the Pacific region. The population distribution is heavily concentrated on Viti Levu, which is home to roughly 3/4 of all Fijians, with the rest distributed across the other inhabited islands, particularly Vanua Levu. What makes Fiji's population story particularly fascinating and unique is its ethnic diversity, specifically the remarkable coexistence and interweaving of two major ethnic communities that have shaped Fijian society in profound and sometimes complicated ways. The first are the indigenous Fijians, known as Aitauke, who are the original Polynesian and Melanesian inhabitants of the islands and who have lived in this part of the Pacific for thousands of years. The Aitauke make up approximately 57% of the population and are the dominant cultural and political force in the country. Their culture, with its village-based social structure, its ceremonies, its traditional crafts, its connection to the land and the sea, is ancient, rich, and deeply rooted in the rhythms of island life. The second major community are the Indo-Fijians, the descendants of Indian workers who were brought to Fiji by the British colonial administration between 1879 and 1916 to work on the sugarcane plantations. These workers came mostly from the Indian states of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, and they were brought under a contract system known as indenture, a system that was essentially forced labor with a thin legal veneer, and whose history represents one of the more painful chapters in the colonial story of the Pacific. Over generations, however, the Indo-Fijian community put down deep roots, built businesses, established communities, and developed a unique cultural identity that is neither purely Indian nor purely Fijian, but something entirely its own, a blend of subcontinental tradition and Pacific Island experience that makes Indo-Fijian culture one of the most distinctive in the world. Today, Indo-Fijians make up roughly 37 to 38% of the population, and they play a central role in Fiji's economy, commerce, and professional life. Beyond these two main communities, there are also small communities of Chinese Fijians, European Fijians, part Europeans, and people from other Pacific Island nations, all of whom contribute to the multicultural mosaic that is modern Fiji. The linguistic landscape of Fiji reflects this diversity. There are 3 official languages: English, which is used in government, education, and business, and serves as the common language between different communities; Fijian, the indigenous language of the Italki people; and Fiji Hindi, a distinct dialect of Hindi that developed among the Indo-Fijian community, and which differs significantly enough from standard Hindi that speakers of each can sometimes struggle to understand each other fully. In practice, most educated Fijians are multilingual, moving between languages depending on the context and the company. And you will often hear conversations that switch fluidly between English, Fijian, and Fiji Hindi in the same breath. Religion is equally diverse. Christianity is the majority religion, practiced by most indigenous Fijians across denominations including Methodist, Catholic, and Seventh-day Adventist. Hinduism is widely practiced among Indo-Fijians, and Islam has a significant presence as well, particularly within certain Indo-Fijian communities. All of these religious communities generally coexist peacefully and with mutual respect, and the calendar of Fiji is dotted with religious holidays and festivals from multiple traditions. Diwali, Eid, Christmas, and a range of traditional Fijian ceremonies all find their place in the rhythm of Fijian life. Fiji's political system is a parliamentary republic, meaning it has a president as head of state and a prime minister as a head of government, with a single-chamber parliament elected by the people. This sounds relatively straightforward, but Fiji's political history has been anything but smooth. Between 1987 and 2006, Fiji experienced 4 military coups, making it one of the most coup-affected countries in the Pacific region and creating enormous instability, international condemnation, economic damage, and social tension. The coups were deeply intertwined with the ethnic tensions between indigenous Fijians and Indo-Fijians. Questions of land ownership, political representation, and economic power were at the heart of the conflict, and the wounds created by those decades of instability took a long time to begin healing. Since 2014, however, Fiji has been on a more stable democratic path, holding successive elections that have been internationally recognized as credible, and there is cautious optimism that the country has turned a corner and is building the political stability it needs to fulfill its remarkable potential. The current political environment is not without its tensions and complexities, but the direction of travel is positive, and Fijians themselves are expressing increasing confidence in their democratic institutions. Let us talk about the economy, because understanding how Fiji makes its living is essential to understanding the country as a whole. The economy of Fiji is a developing one. The average income is considerably lower than in neighboring Australia and New Zealand, but it has significant strengths and a genuine foundation for sustainable growth. The most important sector by far is tourism, which is the lifeblood of the Fijian economy and the industry that most directly connects Fiji to the rest of the world. Fiji is one of the most popular holiday and honeymoon destinations on the planet. People travel from Australia, New Zealand, the United States, Europe, and all over Asia to spend time on the islands. And the tourism industry has grown to accommodate this with an extraordinary range of resorts, from ultra-luxury private island retreats, where a single night can cost thousands of dollars, to budget-friendly backpacker hostels on the Yasawa Islands that attract young travelers from every corner of the world. Fiji's tourism proposition is simple and almost impossible to resist. Stunning natural beauty, warm water, excellent diving and snorkeling, a warm and genuinely welcoming culture, and that magical quality of island time that seems to slow everything down and make all the stresses of the modern world feel very far away. Honeymoon tourism in particular is enormous. Fiji is consistently ranked as one of the world OCS top honeymoon destinations, and countless couples choose its beaches and private bungalows for the beginning of their married life together. Cruise ship tourism also brings tens of thousands of visitors each year, with major cruise lines making Fiji a regular port of call on South Pacific itineraries. All of this means that tourism is not just the largest industry in Fiji. It is, in many ways, the industry that organizes the rest of the economy, driving demand for food, transport, construction, retail, and services. The second major pillar of the Fijian economy is agriculture, and at the heart of Fijian agriculture is sugarcane, a crop that has shaped the landscape, the demographics, and the history of the country more than any other single product. Sugar is Fiji's most important agricultural export, and the vast flat fields of sugarcane on the western side of Viti Levu are one of the defining visual features of the island. The sugar industry has a complicated history. As mentioned, it was the demand for sugarcane labor that drove the British colonial administration to import Indian indentured workers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and in recent decades it has faced significant challenges from falling world sugar prices, aging infrastructure, land tenure disputes, and competition from other producing nations. But sugar remains important, and the government and industry have been working to modernize and increase the efficiency of the sector. Beyond sugar, Fijian agriculture produces coconuts, used for coconut oil, coconut cream, and copra, as well as taro, cassava, sweet potato, ginger, and a range of tropical fruits. Fishing is also a significant industry. Fiji ES waters are rich in tuna and other commercial fish species, and tuna exports are a meaningful source of foreign exchange. Increasingly, there is also interest in developing the forestry, manufacturing, and financial services sectors as ways to diversify the economy and reduce its heavy dependence on tourism, a dependence that was painfully illustrated during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the complete collapse of international travel devastated the Fijian economy for more than 2 years. But let us come back to the wonderful things, because Fiji-esque culture and way of life are genuinely something special. At the center of Aitauke Fijian culture is the village, the tight-knit, community-based social unit that has been the foundation of indigenous Fijian society for centuries. Life in a Fijian village revolves around extended family, communal decision-making, shared responsibility, and a deep sense of belonging and mutual obligation that is expressed in everything from how food is grown and shared, to how disputes are resolved, to how ceremonies are conducted. The concept of kara-care, a traditional system of sharing resources within the community, where it is socially expected that what you have will be shared with those who need it, is a beautiful expression of this communal ethic, one that is in many ways the opposite of the individualistic values of the Western world. Village chiefs, known as Taraga Nikoro, play an important role in local governance and community organization, and traditional chiefly hierarchies remain deeply respected in many parts of Fiji, even in the modern era. One of the most important and fascinating cultural rituals in Fiji is the kava ceremony, and if you visit Fiji, you will almost certainly encounter this tradition. Kava is a drink made from the ground root of the Yacona plant, mixed with water to produce a mildly sedating, slightly numbing, earthy-tasting beverage that plays a central role in Fijian social and ceremonial life. Before you can enter a traditional village, it is customary to bring a gift of kava root. This act, called sevu-sevu, is the formal introduction that establishes respect and goodwill between visitor and community. The kava is then prepared and shared communally in a ritual that has its own specific protocols. The order in which people drink, the clapping that accompanies each cup, the words that are spoken. Drinking kava together is an act of connection, of trust, of shared humanity, and it is one of the most genuinely moving and memorable cultural experiences that Fiji offers. Beyond kava, Fijian culture is rich with music, dance, weaving, wood carving, and traditional ceremonies that mark the important passages of life. Births, marriages, deaths, the installation of chiefs, with color, community, and deep spiritual meaning. Sport is enormous in Fiji, and when it comes to sport, one word dominates above all others: rugby. Fiji is a rugby nation in the most passionate and committed sense of that phrase, and Fijian rugby players are celebrated with something close to reverence. In the full 15-a-side form of the game, Fiji has produced some of the most exciting, skillful, and physically gifted players the sport has ever seen. Natural athletes who bring a flair and an unpredictability to the game that reflects something deep in the Fijian sporting soul. But it is in rugby sevens, the faster, shorter, 7-a-side version of the game, that Fiji has truly announced itself to the world. The Fijian Sevens team is widely regarded as one of the greatest in the history of the sport, and the country's greatest sporting achievement came at the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics, when Fiji won the gold medal in rugby sevens, the first Olympic gold medal in the country's history. The scenes of national celebration that greeted that victory were extraordinary. An entire nation of fewer than 1 million people united in absolute joy, watching their heroes achieve something that had never been done before. Fiji successfully defended that gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, cementing their status as the dominant force in sevens rugby and giving their small but passionate nation a unique and proud place on the world sporting stage. Now let us talk about something that is perhaps the most urgent and important issue facing Fiji in the 21st century: climate change. Fiji is on the front line of climate change in a way that few other countries are, and the existential threat posed by rising sea levels, increasingly intense tropical cyclones, coral bleaching, and ocean acidification is not an abstract future concern for Fijians. It is a present and immediate reality that is already reshaping life on the islands. Many of Fiji's smaller islands sit just 1 meter or 2 above sea level, and the combination of rising seas and more powerful storm surges means that some communities have already been forced to relocate from their ancestral villages to higher ground. The coral reefs that are the foundation of Fiji's marine ecosystem and a major driver of its tourism economy, are under severe threat from warming and acidifying ocean waters, with significant bleaching events already recorded in Fijian waters. Fiji has been a powerful and passionate voice in international climate negotiations, arguing urgently for the wealthy, industrialized nations that are most responsible for greenhouse gas emissions to take the kind of bold, rapid action that the science demands. Former Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama served as president of the COP23 climate negotiations in 2017 and used that platform to amplify the Pacific voice in global climate discussions. For Fiji and its Pacific neighbors, climate change is not a political issue or a future problem. It is a question of cultural survival, of whether the villages and the islands and the ways of life that have existed for thousands of years will be able to continue into the next century. In terms of education and healthcare, Fiji has made real progress in building national systems that reach across its scattered island geography, though significant challenges remain. Education is compulsory for children, and literacy rates are relatively high for a developing country. The University of the South Pacific in Suva is one of the foremost institutions of higher learning in the entire Pacific region, serving not just Fijian students, but students from across the Pacific Island nations, and it is a genuine center of academic excellence and regional identity. Healthcare is available through a network of public hospitals and health centers, but access in remote islands is limited, and the standard of care in rural areas falls well short of what is available in Suva or the major towns. Medical evacuations to Australia or New Zealand are sometimes necessary for serious cases, and the geographic dispersion of the population across hundreds of islands makes the delivery of consistent healthcare one of the enduring challenges of Fijian governance. And so, as we come towards the end of our journey through this extraordinary island nation, let me leave you with some of the things that I think truly capture the essence of what Fiji is and what it offers to the world. Fiji is a place where the natural world is so beautiful, so vivid, so impossibly blue and green and gold that it can genuinely take your breath away. It is a place where the warmth of the people is not a performance for tourists, but a genuine expression of a cultural value, the value of welcome, of generosity, of human connection that runs through every level of society. It is a place where ancient traditions sit comfortably alongside modern life, where a Fijian chief in traditional dress and a young woman in jeans scrolling Instagram can both feel entirely at home in the same village at the same time. It is a place where two very different cultural traditions, the indigenous Pacific and the transplanted South Asian, have found ways to coexist and, at their best, to enrich each other, creating a cultural blend that is entirely unique in the world. It is a place of challenges, of political complexity, of economic vulnerability, of climate anxiety, but also a place of extraordinary resilience, creativity, and hope. Fiji is not perfect, but it is real, and it is remarkable, and it is home to some of the most beautiful scenery and some of the warmest people you will ever encounter anywhere on this earth. The word bula means so much more than just hello. It means life. It means vitality. It means I see you and I welcome you, and I'm glad you're here. And that spirit, that open-hearted bula spirit, is the greatest thing that Fiji has to offer the world. All right, everyone, that is our full deep dive into the incredible island nation of Fiji. I hope you loved it, I hope it inspired you, and I hope that one day you get to stand on one of those perfect beaches, look out at that impossibly blue water, and hear someone say bula to you with a smile so genuine it makes your whole day better. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It helps more people find this content, and it means the world to this channel. If you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because we are heading to a brand new country very soon, and you absolutely do not want to miss it. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever been to Fiji? Is it on your bucket list? And which country should we explore next? I love reading your comments and hearing your stories. Thank you so much for watching. Keep exploring, stay curious, and I will see you in the next one. Bula! And before I truly sign off, let me share a few more extraordinary details about Fiji that I think deserve to be said out loud, because this country rewards the curious and the attentive with layer after layer of wonder. Let us talk for a moment about the underwater world of Fiji, because if you are any kind of diver or snorkeler, Fiji should absolutely be at the very top of your bucket list. Fiji has been called the soft coral capital of the world, and that title is entirely deserved. While hard corals form the architecture of the reef, it is the soft corals, the flowing, feathery, brilliantly colored fan corals and sea whips and leather corals that give Fiji-esque reefs their extraordinary, almost dreamlike visual quality. Sites like the Great White Wall near Tavuni, where a vertical wall of pure white soft coral drops away into the deep blue and creates one of the most visually stunning dive sites anywhere on Earth, are the kind of experiences that divers carry with them for the rest of their lives. The Somosomo Strait between Vanuatu and Tavuni is one of the most famous dive locations in the entire Pacific, teeming with sharks, rays, turtles, and an almost overwhelming abundance of marine life. Tavuni itself, the third largest island of Fiji, known as the Garden Island because of its extraordinary fertility and greenery, is home to the Buma National Heritage Park, a protected area of stunning rainforest, dramatic waterfalls, and pristine coastline that represents Fiji at its most unspoiled and wild. The Lavena Coastal Walk in Buma. takes you through rainforest and along rugged coastline to waterfalls and rock pools that feel genuinely like the edge of the inhabited world. Places so beautiful and so remote that you half expect to encounter a world that has been forgotten by time. Let us also take a moment to appreciate Fijian food, because eating your way through Fiji is one of the great pleasures of visiting the country. Traditional Fijian cuisine is built around the produce of the land and the sea. Taro, cassava, sweet potato, coconut, fish, shellfish, and pork are the foundations of the Aitauke diet. And traditional cooking methods often involve the lovo, an underground earth oven in which food is wrapped in leaves and cooked slowly over heated stones, producing extraordinary flavors that are earthy, smoky, and deeply satisfying. Lovo feasts are a communal celebration, prepared for important occasions and shared among the whole village, and they represent Fijian cuisine at its most authentic and most joyful. Indo-Fijian food, meanwhile, brings the rich spice traditions of the Indian subcontinent to the Pacific, producing curries, rotis, dals, and chutneys that carry the memory of a homeland thousands of kilometers away, while incorporating local ingredients and Pacific flavors. Eating a roti and curry and nadi, or enjoying a plate of fresh kokota, Fiji's version of ceviche, made with raw fish marinated in lime juice and coconut cream with chili. And onion are experiences that tell you something essential about the layered cultural identity of this country. The food of Fiji is a story of migration, adaptation, memory, and creativity, served on a banana leaf or a plate, always with warmth and generosity. The Fijian tradition of storytelling and oral history is also something worth pausing on, because for the Aitauke people, history has always been carried in the voice and the memory rather than in written texts. And this oral tradition has preserved extraordinary amounts of knowledge about the natural world, the movement of peoples, the history of islands and families, and wars and alliances, across generations and centuries. The tradition of telenoa, a word that describes a kind of open, inclusive, honest conversation or storytelling, is deeply embedded in Fijian culture, and it has even been adopted as a concept in international climate negotiations as a model for the kind of genuine, respectful dialogue that the world needs to navigate the challenges ahead. In this small but significant way, the cultural wisdom of the Pacific is making its voice heard in the great conversations of the 21st century, and that is something genuinely moving and important. What all of this adds up to is a country that is so much more than a postcard, so much more than a holiday brochure, so much more than perfect beaches and blue water. Though it is all of those things, and it delivers them more beautifully than almost anywhere else on Earth. Fiji is a living, breathing, complex, beautiful, struggling, resilient, joyful, ancient, modern, unique human community spread across 330 islands in the middle of the largest ocean in the world, greeting every visitor and every challenge with the same irrepressible warmth, and the same extraordinary word, bula, which means, at its deepest level, I am alive, you are alive. And that is worth celebrating right here, right now, together.